Okay, we're diving right in with a special weather explainer today, and for good reason. We've got a pretty significant and potentially disruptive situation developing across the UK. The big story is heavy rain and a very serious risk of flooding. So let's break down exactly what you need to know.
And this is the number that tells the story right off the bat. More than 90 active flood warnings are in place across the country right now. This is not just a little bit of rain, folks. This is a serious situation, and it really needs our full attention. So first up, let's get a look at the big picture for Tuesday. And really, it's a tale of two halves. Pretty much everywhere is feeling unsettled, but what's causing it is this fascinating meteorological story of two completely different air masses, basically clashing right over the UK. Yeah, the general vibe from most of us on Tuesday, February 10th is just dull, damp, and weirdly mild for this time of year. We've got widespread rain and drizzle making for a pretty gray day out there, but the kind of weather you're seeing really depends on where you are. This is the battle that's happening right above our heads. You've got this mild, really moisture-packed air from the Atlantic pushing in from the west and southwest. But at the same time, you've got this colder, brisk air from the continent pushing back from the east. This clash, this meteorological tug-of-war, is the engine that's driving absolutely everything we're seeing. Now, this clash is having its most serious consequences down south, which brings us to the most critical part of today's explainer. Seriously, if you're in the southern half of the UK, the next few minutes are especially for you. The Met Office has issued a yellow weather warning for rain. And when you see a yellow warning, you've got to take it seriously. It means we should all be expecting some disruption, to travel, to our daily plans, and it's a signal that there's a very real potential for hazardous conditions. So where exactly is this warning? Well, it covers southwest and southeast England, the entire London area, and South Wales. In these places, we're talking about 20 to 40 millimeters of rain, and some spots could even see over 50. That is a ton of water to fall in a short period of time. But here's the real kicker. The crucial point here isn't just the amount of rain falling today. The ground in these areas is already completely waterlogged from all the rain we've had recently. It's like a sponge that's already full. It just can't absorb any more water. So any heavy rain that falls just immediately runs off, which massively increases the risk of both river flooding and flash floods. Okay, so what can you do to stay safe? It's pretty straightforward. First, keep an eye on those official local alerts. Second, and this is the big one, it's non-negotiable, never, ever try to drive or walk through floodwater. You just don't know what's underneath. And third, for the best, most up-to-date information, go to the official sources, the Environment Agency in England, SEPA in Scotland, or Natural Resources Wales.
All right, with that really important safety advice covered, let's zoom in a bit and see what this actually looks like on the ground in some of the UK's major cities. Here's a quick rundown of how Tuesday is going to shape up across the country.
You can see it's a pretty consistent story, wet and mild no matter where you are. But notice London, Bristol, and Cardiff, they're all forecast to have heavy rain at times. They are right in that warning zone. As you head further north to places like Manchester and Glasgow, it's less intense, more of that persistent, damp, drizzly feel. The main takeaway here? Pretty much nobody is escaping the rain on Tuesday.
So that's the immediate situation, what's happening right now. But the weather pattern is about to do a complete 180 as we head towards the weekend. The rain is not going to be the main story for much longer.
We're going to stick with this mild and wet theme through Wednesday and Thursday, especially in the south and west. But don't get used to it. There's a high-pressure system moving in, and it's going to totally change the feel of our weather. So here's how it plays out. By Friday, that high pressure takes charge, and it's going to bring much drier, brighter conditions. But there's a trade-off. It's going to turn much colder, with daytime highs struggling to get past 4 to 8 degrees Celsius. And with that comes the risk of overnight frosts and maybe even some snow, especially over the hills up north. And, it's not just about the number on the thermometer you need to watch. We're going to have this brisk easterly breeze, which means we need to talk about wind chill. That's the cooling effect of the wind on your skin, and it makes the air feel way colder than it actually is. So 5 degrees on the thermometer could easily feel more like freezing when you're out in that wind. So if there's one key message for the week ahead, it's all about this big transition. We are literally going from a mild, wet, flood risk situation to a much colder, drier, and potentially frosty one. It's definitely a week to stay aware and just be ready for two very different kinds of weather. Which kind of leads us to a final thought, doesn't it? This kind of rapid switch, from flooding rains one day to frosts a few days later, it feels like it's becoming more common. It really makes you wonder, in a climate this dynamic, how prepared are we for whatever the weather decides to throw at us next? Stay safe out there and keep an eye on those forecasts.